What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. I have an amazing video for y'all today because today we are going to be looking at a CIA file that purportedly details an account of soldiers attacking aliens, getting in a fight. That's right. There's a lot more to the story. So let's jump in. I've got the article here. And don't worry, we've also got the document we're going to look at. So first, let's take a look at this article that was released by Fox. Viral CIA file about aliens attacking soldiers takes off with UFO intrigue. Holy cow. Let's look at the summary here. A declassified CIA document describes an alleged UFO attack on Soviet forces. The report claims that Soviet soldiers shot down a UFO, causing it to crash. 5 small humanoids emerged from the wreckage, fused into a single object, and emitted a bright light that turned most of the soldiers to stone. What? Right? Am I right? This is kind of crazy, right? They emerged into one object, kind of like Voltron, if you remember that. Anyway, let's dive into this and see what this is all about. Let's read this article. And then again, we're going to take a look at the actual document itself. All right. So it says, again, a Soviet era document published on the CIA's website describes an alleged alien UFO encounter by military forces. This was just released today. This article, not the file. Fox News chief, national security correspondent Jennifer. No, that's not it. Okay, here we go. A declassified document posted to the CIA's website is raising eyebrows with claims of an alleged UFO attack on Soviet forces. The viral report summarizes an article published by Canadian Weekly World News and the Ukrainian paper Holos Ukrainini. I probably got that wrong. My apologies. And was initially released to the public in May 2000. All right, so this has been around for 25 years, y'all. The first-hand report describes a retaliatory alien attack after Soviet soldiers reportedly shot down a UFO flying over a military base. The aliens reportedly emerged from the wreckage, fusing together into one object and bursting into a bright light and turning all but 2 of the soldiers to stone. So 2 of them got away unscathed, right? Unstoned. It's basically like Medusa, right? Essentially, that's what I'm hearing described here. Now, again, we'll get to the file itself. So give me a moment. If the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. An unnamed CIA representative was quoted as saying in the report, "The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked." Canadian Weekly World News estimates the supposed incident occurred between 1989 and 1990 and was initially published in 1993. So we're talking actually, right, what is that? 35 years since this incident happened, essentially. So just after the Cold War, right, the fall of the Soviet Union, all around that time. Interesting. According to the document, information acquired by U.S. intelligence revealed reports of a low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer over a Soviet Union unit participating in training exercises. That photo is a stock photo, y'all. That is not real, okay? So just... Officials wrote that for unknown reasons, the soldiers launched a surface-to-air missile at the unknown craft, causing it to crash near the military base. The report describes how 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from the downed spaceship and fused together to create one single object while emitting a loud buzzing noise. The spherical object reportedly then burst into a blinding bright light. Okay, so that's interesting. So basically, we're getting some more details here, right? So this thing, it's interesting that they call it a single object and not a single entity, right? So 5 short humanoids with large black heads and large black eyes, right? They fuse together to create a single object, not a single humanoid, right? That's interesting. And then basically they say the spherical object. So these 5 humanoid-looking aliens fused together to create some sort of spherical object that emitted a loud buzzing noise and then a blinding bright light that, again, turned the soldiers to stone, except for 2 of them. They got away. They just got turned to grass. I don't know. I'm kidding. They clearly survived. Now, what's interesting is what happened to the soldiers, right? They get turned to stone, but then what, right? Did they just like, just completely vaporize like the end of Avengers, right? Like Endgame or whatever it is, Infinity War, right? Where they just like dust off? Or are they in the front yards of some Russian oligarchs, right? Like as prized possession. I don't know. Let's keep reading. Eyewitness testimonials claim 23 soldiers suddenly turned into stone poles. 2 men reportedly survived the encounter because they were standing in a shaded area and were not completely exposed to the blast of light. Wow, that's all it took. Just stand in the shade, y'all. Stand in the shaded area. This is very interesting. So 25 soldiers in total, 23 turned to stone poles. So they weren't like turned to stone in their action, right? So if they were like holding a gun or running and then they got turned to stone, no, it's like stone poles, which is interesting, right? So I don't know. And when we say stone, what do we mean by stone? What kind of stone are we talking about here? What kind of rock are we talking about here, right? Very interesting. But the fact that 2 of them survived just because they were in a shaded area and not completely exposed to the blast of light. So what's interesting, so they were exposed to some of it, but not all of it. So were they affected in some way? I don't know. Officials wrote that the remains of the petrified soldiers and the spaceship were transported to a secret scientific research base near Moscow. Well, of course they were. Where it was discovered, the soldiers' molecular structure matched that of limestone. Okay, here we go. We get some details. Some limestone. The document claims scientists believe the cause was a source of energy not yet known to humans. I mean, that is crazy. Why limestone? Why would the aliens choose a bright light to turn people into limestone? Like, why limestone? This is so strange to me. The CIA did not respond to Fox News' digital request for comment. God, I wonder why the CIA didn't respond for comment on this. While the initial context of the document remains unknown, it likely originated from a telegram or another form of open source information. See, you always got to know, where do these stories come from? Where does it originate? What's the seed of this, right? It's like finding a leaf on the ground and wondering what tree it came from, right? However, former CIA agent Mike Baker is skeptical of the extraordinary claims detailed in the report. If there was an incident, regardless of the nature of the incident, I suspect that the actual report doesn't look much like what has now come out from 5 or 6 or 7 iterations of what originally was written. Interesting. In 2020, the Department of Defense announced the creation of an unidentified aerial phenomena task force, the UAPTF, with the goal to detect, analyze, and catalog unknown objects that could pose a threat to national security. The creation of the program comes after years of government efforts to investigate questionable aircraft. Well, that is long gone, right? That program no longer exists. Arrow is in its place, so this article is interesting. While UFOs are typically associated with aliens, Baker insists officials are required to look into unidentified objects in the interest of national security. I mean, again, it's unidentified, right? You can't identify it and say it's aliens and still call it a UFO. Does that make sense? But I get it. UFOs is just taken on a whole different term. When people say UFOs, they actually mean alien craft. That's typically what people mean. That's just the truth. So I don't know why we just don't call them AFOs, alien flying objects. Anyway, the Pentagon was saying if aviators are flying and they identify something that they can't readily say what it is, then officials should, as a matter of national security, make sure that they catalog it and figure out what it was. Baker told Fox News Digital. There's a reason why you have a method of investigating these things. It doesn't mean you're investigating alien spacecraft, but that's where people's minds go when they hear about these sorts of things. Correct. The Pentagon did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital request for comment. Interesting. They didn't prioritize that. Earlier this year, President Donald Trump signed an order to declassify decades-old government files pertaining to UFOs, possibly revealing federal secrets while pulling back the curtain on any potential cover-up. A lot of people believe that there is a smoking gun somewhere in the files. Former UK Defense Ministry official and UFO expert Nick Pope told Fox News Digital. It is a very widely held belief that elements in the U.S. intelligence community know that some of this is extraterrestrial and have documents and files relating to this. And that, of course, is what everyone really wants to know. That's the $64,000 question. As for the extraordinary claims of a Soviet-era alien invasion and retaliatory, gosh, that word is getting me today. Baker does not buy it. I'm sure there's something out there, Baker said. I just don't think that they landed decades ago, turned Soviet soldiers into limestone, and we're just now hearing about it. I don't think that's the case. So, what do you think? Tell me in the comments. Have you heard of this story before? Now, let's jump to this document. Why not, right? So here it is. This is the declassified document that's on the CIA website. So, Russia International paper reports alleged evidence on mishap involving UFO. Source, Kiev, Holos, Ukrainian, March 27th, 1993. That's the source. Interesting. Reprint from the newspaper, Teropil. I don't know. I can't say that. Cosmic Revenge. First paragraph published in boldface text. After Mikhail Gorbachev dissolved in 1991, the KGB Top Secret Intelligence Administration, a lot of material from that department found their way abroad, in particular to the CIA. As reported by the authoritative magazine Canadian Weekly World News, U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on the attack by a UFO on a military unit in Siberia. Wow, 250 pages. We do not have that. This is a one-pager here that I've got, okay? I mean, this is it right here. There's nothing more that I've got here. So that's interesting. The file contains not only many documentary photographs and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. Interesting. Yeah, remember, I mean, the stories out there that they're all friendly. Clearly, in this case, if we are to believe the story, that is not the case. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that, after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply, and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. Oh, they exploded. See, that wasn't mentioned before. That's interesting. So did the humanoid being just like explode away? At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. So a light explosion goes off. Okay, see, that wasn't in the Fox News article, right? That's why we read the report, y'all. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings, what a weird way to describe that, instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. So that's interesting. So they're not necessarily saying it's limestone, but the molecular composition is no different from limestone. A CIA representative stated, if the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked. Yowzers. All right. Approved for release May 2000. That's what it says right there. May 2000. So what do we think, y'all? Did this happen in Russia? Right? Were there aliens that came down and attacked and turned them to limestone? I don't know. I never heard a story like this, to be honest. This is a new one for me, and I've heard a lot. Never heard about the aliens merging into one object, exploding into a bright light, emitting a sound. I mean, I've never heard that. Or turning human beings to something, reminiscent of limestone, right? Stone poles. Again, that's what's interesting. Were they stone poles, like in the shape of the human, right? Like think of like Mount Vesuvius, right, in Pompeii, and the volcano, and like people just turned to ash in the position they were in, right? Or what, right? That's again, who knows? But this is all new to me. So again, I'm gonna put links in the description. Y'all tell me what you think, and we'll go from there, right? Have you heard a story like this before? Or something similar? Has anyone heard a story like this that isn't this? Does that make sense? Like, is there another corresponding story or more of aliens turning people to stone and merging into one object like that, like Voltron? Again, Voltron, Medusa. There's some interesting things going on here. So, all right, betters, we'll see you in the next video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.